Aloha everyone, Michelle with Blossom Inner Wellness, and I'm here with Aloha Joe, and super excited to be interviewing him. He's an author. He has 11 books. Here's one of them, The Healing Power of Love, and just really excited. He has an amazing journey that he has been on, and we get to understand and learn about it. So welcome, Aloha Joe.
Thank you for having me.
Awesome. First, I want to talk about, you were in the military. You were in the Marine Corps.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. And what was that? Well, actually, where would you like to start today? What is on your heart today? Because we met here on the Big Island of Hawaii, and he started talking to me, and I was just like, oh my gosh, the stories that he's sharing with me are just blowing my mind. And I was like, people need to know about what he's been through and what he's done. And do you want to start with the beginning of your story of?
Sure. Yeah. Well, the beginning would be I was born in Santa Barbara, California in the late 1970s, and was with my birth mother for a little while. Ended up in Child Protective Services in San Diego. That didn't go so well. A lot of sexual abuse as a child, and passed around to different places, and two adoptions that fell through, and then I ended up in a forced child labor camp called Camp Tracy in Florida, where I was abused for a number of years, and then ended up, I was done with high school by the time I was 16, and so on my 17th birthday, I signed and joined the Marine Corps because it gave me everything, a purpose, life, family, a job. And so I actually aced the entrance exam to the military, and they thought I cheated, so they had me take it again. I aced it again. So they said, what do you want to do? And computers were pretty new at that time publicly, so I started building helicopters, aviation electrical engineer. And number of injuries in the military, mostly non-work related, motorcycle crashes, things like that. Ended up being medically retired in my early 20s, and really struggled. That's pretty much when all the abuse from my childhood came up, was when I ended up with a traumatic brain injury. I got run over on my motorcycle in front of my college. It took 6-7 years to walk and talk right again. And just, marriage and divorce didn't go so well in the military. That was an abusive relationship. I just had been used to being abused my whole life, and that was what was comfortable. And I finally realized that
this is Aloha Joe we're talking. So he's got now you're called Aloha Joe.
Yeah. So I'm getting to that point, which is basically
crazy.
By the time I was like 28, I was fully lost. I was drinking heavily. I never got off into drugs or anything, but I worked at night I've always done security. I always tried to help people and save people and love people, but I was doing it with fighting, right? Protecting.
Mm-hmm. Because you could have gone the other way. I mean,
I could have gone dark.
That's a lot
sure.
dark. Yeah, that's a lot of trauma for a lot of years.
It's what I've learned though is everybody's trauma is bad. Mm-hmm. No matter what it seems minor to you, it's just as traumatic as what happened to me, right? Mm-hmm. So you just respect people's journeys that way. But after I got in the military, one of my other brothers and I, who was in the camp with me, actually sued Camp Tracy for 4 years in court. They were run by a church, by the way. And so we didn't win the case because they're backed by the community and the church and the money and the legal system. But what we did do was bring enough attention to it that the camp was shut down by federal indictment. And now they rescue abused women and children instead of abusing women and children. So that was awesome. We got to flip that. And that was the first time that I really saw a difference in what had happened to me as a kid, that I could make a difference from feeling better for myself, but also helping others, that are going through the same thing. And then I moved to Big Island, Hawaii. I was 33. It was 2011. I was here about 2 weeks, and my car just showed up, and I was living on Old Kalapana Road.
So you had it shipped here, your car?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah. And Pasha, Hawaii, plug for them. They're awesome. So I'm driving my car through the jungle over here in Kalapana, and there's this old lady walking down the road, like auntie with big bags in both hands. I'm like, wait, I pulled over. I go, auntie, what are you doing? I took all her bags, put them in the car, drove her to her house, carried them all into the house. Her screen door was broken. I fixed her screen door, and then I left. And a couple of days later, my friend Tracy took me to Uncle Robert's Wednesday night market. And he said, now, be real respectful here. This is the royal family of the island. This is where they live, you know. And I go, oh, yeah, I've been here. And he said, no, you haven't. And I said, yeah, no, I was here. No, you haven't. Said, yes, I was. That house right there. He goes, no, you weren't. He said, do you know who that is? I go, nope. Just some lady I found walking down the road. And he said, that's Auntie Tootsie. And I don't know what that means. And he goes, Uncle Robert's sister? I don't know who that is. I've only been here 2 weeks. And he goes, the king and queen of what? He goes, what do you mean of what? Of Hawaii. I was like, really? Oh, well, that's cool. Just then, Auntie Tootsie sees me, and she pointed at me. So I walk over to go hug her neck, and I got picked up off the ground from behind. And I'm 6'1", like 225. I got picked up. And Auntie's shoo. And I look, and these massive Hawaiians, you know, big dudes. And she's shooing them away. No, that's Aloha Joe. Let him alone. And she gave me a big hug and a kiss. And I said, who's Aloha Joe? And she said, you're Aloha Joe. I go, well, what does that mean? You know, what is Aloha Joe? Because I was Sergeant Holt, you know, and all these other things. And,
you were a sergeant in the Marines.
Right, yeah. And she said, well, I don't want to get emotional. Well, I do, but I don't mean to keep slapping your mic either. She took me to Puna's grave. Puna's very special, family member to Uncle Robert, and a musician, and he just loved by everybody on the island. And he passed away actually on stage playing music at Uncle Robert's Market, which they thought that was great, right? He died doing what he loved. And so Auntie Tootsie took me to Puna's grave and told me what aloha was, and that I had it. And
what did she say?
Well, to be literal, aloha means to be in the presence of the breath of life. And the ha is the breath, right? So when they used to call me Haole when I got here. Well, that means to be without the breath of life. I can assure you that is not the case. And so I was here 3 years. I wrote Aloha Joe in Hawaii just because I wasn't trying. It's cathartic to write. Mm-hmm. So after about a year, I realized I wanted to share that with my children, who were 9 and 12 at the time. Mm-hmm. So I put in a couple dozen color photos and talk about Kalapana, help raise money for Auntie Tootsie, actually. They were building public restrooms at the market and needed to raise money. And so I printed some copies, gave them to her, you know, helped spread the word wrote about it in the book. And then I was moved off island by life, and I moved 44 times in about 11 years, a little more than 11 years, as an ambassador of Aloha, just loving people, moving. I went, this book right here that she showed you in the beginning, this is about moving to Alaska to save my grandma and grandpa's lives. And he was a Vietnam Marine, and she was a prisoner of war in World War II under the Nazis. From 5 to 10, and she's still alive. I did save their lives. And
what was going on? Why were they in trouble?
Well, I mean, this grandma's in the intensive care unit and grandpa's in the emergency room of the same hospital. So now I'm moving to Alaska with less than 2 weeks notice to save my grandparents' lives. With Parkinson's, diabetes, heart failure, high cholesterol, blood clots, and more, I have quite the task at hand. I will use holistic healing methods and love to prolong and improve the quality of my family's life, all while living on the Kenai Peninsula of Alaska.
Nice. Very cool. And I just want to say, if you're seeing smoke, we have an incense burning because of the mosquitoes.
Yes.
So we put that up.
Yes, and some matcha tea.
And some matcha tea. Well, that's fantastic. I mean, that, and so where else did you go? Because you went to Alaska and...
Well, so I was in California to help my kids and grandchildren. I was in Alaska to help my grandparents. I was in Tennessee to help my uncle. I was in Alabama to help my blind brother, in Louisiana. I was in Arkansas to help my disabled Navy brother. I don't know. It was a lot. It was a lot. Arizona.
So let's bring it back to, let's bring it up
Sure.
toward this present time right now that's happening.
Here and now.
Here and now. The here and now. So
There's only ever here and now.
yes, that's true.
So the last
moment.
2 books, the now would be my last 2 books I wrote and gave away for free on my website, authorjoeholt.com. I moved during this time I was in Alaska for the Healing Power of Love. I had a 2-week experience that was triggered by forgiveness, right? I was sitting there in Alaska. It's snowing. I'm the only person for miles besides my grandma who's sleeping in the house. And I thought, okay, I need to let all this go from my past, right? The abuse, the rape, the kidnapping, all the stuff that happened to me. And who do I forgive first, right? And then I thought, well, my kids have been through some abuse because of some of the people that have cared for them. And the more I thought about it, well, how do you can't, if you name them, you're actually bringing that trauma to your now. So I thought, okay, well, what if I forgive everybody of everything like God would? Like just everything from every time period, just forgive, just let it go, all of it. And in a flash, it felt like I got hit in the head with a hammer. My nose started running like you turn on a water faucet for like 30, 45 seconds, just pouring out of my nose. And then this like fractal geometric globe expanded from me out like a honeycomb, bee honeycomb shapes, but rainbow bubble type colors. And then for 2 weeks, I couldn't sleep, I couldn't eat, and I was having super intense visions. And I wrote it all down, everything, answers, the theory of everything. And it really messed me up. It almost killed me. I was a Freemason, a 32nd degree Freemason at the time, which I've quit that. My rings on my fingers, the solder melted and my rings fell off in pieces. My phone fried when I tried to touch it. If I sit quietly, it would turn the FM radio on in the living room, which my grandma thought was hilarious. She'd, "Are you meditating?" "Yes, ma'am." "Well, you turn the radio on again." And she'd turn it back off. If I walked past my grandpa's computer, it would pixelate and then crash. Just whatever electromagnetic anomaly was happening. And it took me 2 years. By the way, the Freemasons threatened me, tried to lock me up in a mental hospital, all kinds of stuff. So I obviously backed away from all that. And I was able to solve geometry using the visions, the answers, the theory of everything that I had. And then 2 years later, that was 2018, 2020, I wrote a unified quantum theory based on what I had seen, the visions, and explained that basically male is a 3-sided equilateral pyramid, female is a 4-sided equilateral pyramid. Also, one is space, one is time. And if you combine them and push them together, they start spinning in an inverse palindromic repeat sequence that opens a stargate in the middle, like a Merkaba light body.
I was going to say Merkaba, yeah.
Yeah, and a stargate. And so I jumped into that and traveled around through space and time and visited any civilization I wanted, talked to anybody I wanted, wrote it all down, asked all the smartest people about my theory as I was writing it. I would just go to them and ask them what they thought, and published it for free because love, don't hide it behind a paywall. Don't copyright it. There's a dark energy on this planet, and there's a light energy on this planet. And if you're a child of the light, you're creating a child of the dark. And if you're a child of the dark, you're creating a child of the light, because it's a bipolar, electric and magnetically balanced anomaly that you find yourself in. And it's your consciousness that is choosing space or time, which space or time to be in. Well, if you're in the here and now, that matches the frequency of love. So and
I just want to say one thing.
Yeah.
If you're listening to this going, "Oh my God, these people are crazy," That's totally okay.
That's
totally okay. You choose what feels right for you.
For sure.
Because everybody's journey is different, and the journey of awakening is each particular person's journey. Exactly. Basically. So take what feels right to you. And if you're just like, oh my gosh, what is he talking about? Because actually what you're talking about, I just was watching a video last night with this physicist that was talking about there is no space and time. And he was going, he actually went into the science behind it. And they actually say at the very beginning, be careful when you're going into this work, because it can take your brain into a whole nother place that if you're not ready for it, let it go. Don't even go there. So,
well, yeah, that's okay. I just read a quote yesterday from Heisenberg, who's the father of quantum physics, who basically said, when you dive into this, you'll be an atheist, but at the bottom, you're going to find God. And I can tell you for a fact, as an autistic, Asperger's autistic aviation electrical engineer, I started with numbers, but not geometry. And if you look through Aristotle, Socrates, all these guys said, if you could solve geometry, you would unlock the keys of the universe. Mm-hmm. Well, my forgiveness basically dumped out of my body the fear, pulled in the inverse because electromagnetic nature, which is love. Mm-hmm. And I fully embody love now in the here and now, permanently. As a way of life. I'm celibate. I don't have relationships, so I can love everybody all the time equally. And it's been transformative. But let me just skip you right to the master class. Okay. So that was an associate's, bachelor's, and master's in theoretical physics, we'll call it. So here's the doctorate. All those pieces that I defined in the unified quantum theory are completely unnecessary. Mm-hmm. You don't need duality. You don't need to be bipolar. That's right. And think about it. If you hear, oh, that person's bipolar, that's a negative connotation. That means they can't control their mood and they're swinging wildly from one pole to the other. That's not good or bad. That's electric and magnetic. Your heart, electric. It has two sets of poles. Your brain, magnetic. It has one set. The energy goes up, flips, comes here, spins, goes to one shoulder, flips, down, back, up, right? Christian cross is the 4. Iron cross is the 3. And it just flips. It's cyclical, okay? But if you combine all of that and unify it, what the quantum physicists would call it, what I created in 2018, is a multi-conical singularity zero-point event. And that happens to be the frequency of love because it's here and now. So I recentered the space-time matrices in the now, in love, which means it's already done. Like we, for lack of a better term, we win. We won. Now, but here's the thing. Winning is only necessary if you're in a duality. Yeah, okay. Polarity. If in the beginning, when it was dark, there was nothing but wisdom. There was nothing. We were all one thing. All of us, everything was one thing. We're all God. Okay. Then that wisdom became self-aware. Okay. So you've got everything, which is a 0. Yeah. And then when it became self-aware, now it's a point within a circle. That's all of us. Mm-hmm. Then started fractioning down longer timelines. But you don't have to do that. You could just go back to the one, assume the unity consciousness, and be love all the time.
That's awesome. So what is a practice to help people to get started with that?
This is what's awesome, guys. I can save you thousands of dollars and years of your life. You don't have to hold your hand a certain way. You don't have to say a certain thing. You don't have to buy my discs or books or CDs or anybody else's, period. Unless you want to, right? You want to be a child of light? Rock it. You want to be a child of dark? Rock it. But don't pretend to be a good guy and be a bad guy. That's not allowed, okay? Don't be a bad guy. Pretend to be good. Don't be good. Pretend to be bad. Be what you are. Embrace it. God loves you for it. That's the whole point of this dualistic reality you're in. Your consciousness is more than God because God is constrained by sacred geometry, right? By the rules of love, basically. You're not. You can do anything you want, including live in love. Here's how you do it. You have to pick a specific space and a specific time. You're using your consciousness to choose specific space and time. People, oh, I'm in my now. Not enough. Why? Because it's not here and now. You need a space and a time, both. And if you do that, you're in love. You're literally in the frequency of love. And that is the frequency of God, of the creator, of creation, right? Women, that's your energy when you're ovulating and at conception, right? It's what animates the sacred geometry. See, when I went back and viewed the creation, basically I had to figure out like, okay, if I put a dot here and a dot here and a dot here, well, now I get a triangle, put a dot in the middle, I get a three-dimensional, three-sided, right? Then it was dot, 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 dot with a dot in the middle. Now it's four-sided. Well, all the differences between male and female is plus 0, right? You have 0, 0, 0, that's 3, 0, 0, 0, 0 is 4. One extra 0 opens an entire another dimension. If you're in ego and you're male, and even if you're in a female body, but you're living in ego and fear and anger, you're still embodying the 3. Well, if you have a 3 and a 3 and you put them together, you only make 9 dimensions. If you have a 3 and a 4 and you put them together, you make 12 dimensions. However, if you unify the field, the 3 and the 4, it goes to a 13, a 12 plus 1, just like music, the scales of music. 12 plus or minus 1, which way are you going through space and time? Which way are you going up the scale, right? I also, with the help of a composer, write a quantum music theory using unified quantum theory. And any of you musicians out there, take this and see what happens. Instead of one set of 8 octaves, 2. One set of 9 for male, one set of 12 for female, and use 528 and 432 for each. And then you just echo back and forth between the two, and you'll start opening stargates.
Now, tell us a little bit about music, because the powers that be change the frequency.
Sure.
And so what is that about? Because when I learned this, I was just like, what?
Well, it's not, okay, so it's not just music. Your math has been changed. Your music has been changed. Your clocks have been changed. Everything. All they have to do is slightly move the moderation of the frequency. This is all about modulating frequency, by the way, right? I can tell you for a fact that I'm a son of God, but I'm not going to tell you that like religiously or theology or philosophy. I'm using geometry. In the male, the 3-sided pyramid, you have an omega power source. It looks like a number 8, right? Laid on its side. Female, because you opened up another dimension, you have 2 power sources. And it's basically just 2 figure 8s, 2 infinities, which is called an alpha omega. However, when you take the 3 and the 4 and you put them top point to top point and you push them together and they start spinning in that inverse palindromic repeating sequence, well, now instead of an omega or alpha omega, you have plus 1 alpha omega, which is a trinity. I'm sure you've heard that in your religions, right? So, and I'll give you another example. There's the trinity. At the bottom, it'd be like Jesus and Mary, or the Black Madonna and Child, right? Depending on, they've changed that. It's just allegory, by the way. Above that, there's Archangel Michael and Joan of Arc. It's always a male and female echo. And then above that, probably, it'd be like Ra and Isis, basically, right? But all that we're talking about is a modulation of frequency.
And also, I want to just invite you to consider that everything you've been taught in school is not true. The possibility of us being programmed from when we were little all the way through.
Possibility.
The possibility.
Let me hold on. We can make it more than that. Television.
No, that's yes.
And what's on it? Programming. Programs.
Exactly my
Listen,
last video.
I'm autistic. I'm a literal thinker. Okay, his story, history, it's made up. It's all made up. You've been lied to in your politics, in your religion, anything. Get this, guys. Anything that's divisive, anything, money, what neighborhood you live in, what country you're from, any of that stuff. It's an illusion. We were all wisdom in the beginning. And then it fractioned down the timelines. Okay? You could just go right back up the timeline and be unified with all of us. Everybody you meet, every living thing is part of you. Every plant, every animal, everything was sentient. Quartz crystals, right? A lot of our Ohana really enjoy minerals. Well, a quartz crystal, I spent the last 2 years mining quartz crystal in the Ouachita National Forest in Arkansas. Purest crystal on the planet. And crystal's neither liquid nor solid. And it holds memory.
Yeah.
That's the measure of sentience.
Our blood holds the memory of us. Your body has every single memory you've ever experienced in your entire life is in your body, is in the blood.
And also your pineal gland, inside of your pineal gland are quartz crystals, and they resonate with you. If you have your pineal pituitary, you basically clean your gland system out. What happened to me when I had that forgiveness and love, but I felt like I got hit in the head with the hammers because those crystals were activated and resonated. And that's basically your telephone line to the all that is, to God, to the unified field, the Akashic records, pick. It's all the same thing, right? They're just trying to confuse you and sell you stuff.
So why?
Because
why are they doing this?
Okay, so I was a Buddhist for 20 years because I'm a multi-faith ordained minister, or used to be. I don't subscribe to all that stuff anymore, but I was trying to find our commonality as a people. And so I studied all these different religions and realized all of the numbers match, all of the patterns match, the tribes, right? The brothers, the colors, pick a thing. It's all allegory. They're actually tracking the movement of the celestial bodies through space. That's, what is it? The Sonnen system vortex helix, the way the planets spin through the universe. If you watch, it's going, and womp, going, womp. Well, it's 3, 4, 3, 4. That's that male and female echo, that space and time echo, which, like you said, is an illusion. The only thing that's real is your consciousness. All of this electromagnetic anomaly, it's just that. It's an anomaly. What I created in 2018, a multi-conical singularity 0 point in the frequency of love, the dark ones, they call it an anomaly. They're using all sorts of technology, looking glass technology, and others to look into the probable futures based on your current timeline to keep you from awakening, basically, connecting to God, to connecting to Source again. But in every timeline, there's an anomaly. I happen to be the anomaly in this timeline. It already happened. It already happened. You don't have to worry about it. It's already fixed.
Because we are, yes, this is true. And I feel like that what's going on now, that there is something else that's going to be more heavy, that's
Sure.
creating, not community, but all of us, the collective trauma that we're all going through. But love is coming back. There's like nothing they can do to stop this.
Well, it's not coming back. I don't mean to correct you.
It's here. You're right.
It's only here and now. Love is okay. This is very important.
But the light and the heaviness that we were feeling, we are going to.
It's already being lifted.
We are going to a better place.
Love is not a verb. It's a very important point I'd like to make. Love is not an action. It's not a verb. You don't love people. That's not how it works. That's why there's so many people hurt by love. Love is a state of being. Love is a frequency that you assume. It's a lifestyle. That's Aloha Joe. That's what that means. I love everybody all the time, even the ones that push back against it because they need it the most, right? But at the same time, I honor your journey. I honor your struggle. It's beautiful that what you're doing, your consciousness moving through this reality, it pleases
It's
God
not easy
to see that.
And you had a lot of courage to come here at this time in history to go through this together.
Exactly.
All of us together. And we are there is going to be peace, harmony, and unity. And it's already here. And we actually get to be seeing how it shows up and how it manifests.
Well, we can tell you. So, okay, when I say I'm the son of God, I am, but there's actually 13 of us here right now to create a grid, so it's not just me.
But they're all of us. I
But
mean,
it's
all of us.
but it's
That's
also
that's everybody.
well. See, here's the thing: we showed up to create this grid to allow easier electromagnetic transition for everyone else and for all other fragments of self. Because what I did in 2018 was so electromagnetic.
So how can people do forgiveness?
Just same way I did.
Exactly. So give us that.
Okay,
like,
it's super easy, guys. I know it sounds complicated, but it's not. Get quiet in your head and say, I forgive. I forgive everything,
and
everybody, every
feel
time.
it.
Yeah, you got to feel it. Don't listen. Don't try to logically understand it. You can't. It's not a logical process. No. You're using your consciousness to choose here and now and forgiveness. The result is love. It's an electromagnetic anomaly, guys. It's not theology. This isn't philosophy. I'm autistic. Ask around. Find an autistic friend. Ask them how emotional they are. We're just not, right? But we still have physiological feelings in our body. I used to be a wreck when I was younger because my chest would hurt, my hands would be tight and sweaty, my face would be red, but I wouldn't understand I was having emotions. And I had to learn what that meant so I could relate to other people. But how is it that an autistic electrical engineer can explain love? It's a frequency, just like every other frequency. And I can modulate my frequency but at will, which is really what that will allow you to do. So use forgiveness. Start with that. Forgiveness, everything. Yeah. It turns into love. And you'll know if you did it right because you feel like somebody hit you in the head with a hammer and you'll see a bunch of pretty colors and you'll start vibrating.
Or you'll just feel a lot better too.
No, it's very dynamic. It's not a little thing. It took me 2 weeks to get through it. It's so intense. The rainbow light body activation, Kundalini awakening, pick a name. It's all the same thing. The cartouches you see for medical science, the snakes going up, all the 33 degrees of masonry, the 33 vertebrae in the spine. And when it gets to the top, that's your Ark of the Covenant. That's your Holy Grail. If you split your brain in half, that's the Eye of Ra, all the Egyptian symbology. It's 100% all of this. I got chicken skin trying to tell you guys. Everything, it's 100% about be here, be now, and your love. You want to purge your body. You don't need drugs. You don't need any of that other stuff. You need forgiveness, which triggers love in the here and now. You're done. That's it. You win. It's over. Done struggling. You could just live in love now.
I love it.
All the time.
Fantastic. Well, Aloha Joe, thank you so much.
It's been amazing. Thank you, Michelle.
Yes, and it's awesome. So
it's great to be here with you guys today.
Thank you.
If your audience has questions, I could do a follow-up. I could just tell you and you could tell them, however you want to do it. Look, guys, everyone, all of us, we're the same being. Love each other because when you do, you're loving yourself.
Yeah, absolutely.
What you say about other people, it's about you. What they say about you, it's about them. Yeah. Don't take on other people's stuff and love them. Appreciate their journey. We all are on one.
And I know that a lot of us, like everybody, there's not one person on the planet that's not going through something right now. So just let yourself feel those feelings and breathe into those frequencies. And when you just acknowledge them, like fear, worry, whatever it is, and you just breathe into those frequencies, they start to dissolve. When you make them wrong or you try to fix them, that's when you're going to get the pushback. But you just go, this is a human body and there's different frequencies that I have in this body. All it is frequency.
Exactly.
And you just breathe into that frequency. It starts to dissolve. And then what happens is you have freedom. Like that's true freedom because you're coming from, not from the frequency that's then triggering your thoughts. You're actually coming from a different place of freedom, of peace.
Well, and I can quantify again. See, this is such a beautiful relationship because you can explain in that way, and I can explain with geometry. If you see wherever you are right now, you're in a different time and space than here and now. Otherwise, you wouldn't have a struggle with you, right? So say you're over here in time and space, but then you step into your here and now. Well, your past is now different, and your future is now different. So you're like, oh, all that stuff. You've heard my story. It's traumatic, right? It's insanely traumatic. However, this is a real smile. I'm really Aloha Joe, and I've been that way for like 10, 12 years now. I'm not sure. The reason is I stepped out of the old space and time into my now, which is love, and my past is love and my future is love, because like she said earlier, space and time are illusion. They're definable illusion, but they're illusion. The only thing real is you, your love, your consciousness, us. It's us. There's only us. We, not they, not them, ever. It's just us.
So take what works for you from this video, leave what doesn't work for you, and just sending you so much aloha today and so much love from our heart to your heart. And we are getting through this, and there is going to be, we actually will be living peace on earth, harmony with each other, unity with all of humanity, peace and freedom, a freedom that we can't even understand right now. Well, so super excited about that.
Quick thing, guys, just, you don't have to take our word for it. In the last 2 years, look around, do some research. The white snow leopard's back. There's rare birds, insects, stuff that was supposed to be extinct, stuff that hasn't been seen in hundreds of years.
Condor.
The earth is, it's already happening.
She's happening.
It's been happening for years. The earth is sentient. It's a part of us. Remember in the beginning, there was nothing, not even the earth. It's a part of us.
Yeah. Yeah, I know somebody who said we're not on the earth, we are the earth.
We are the earth.
We are the earth in consciousness, living.
Exactly.
So,
and she's already coming back, guys. She's
is.
Already coming back.
So get out in nature and enjoy her, because her frequency, just being in nature will raise your frequency, and you'll feel so much better, and help with healing, help with de-stress, help with anxiety, help with depression, just walking in nature.
That's it. My very first book, the whole point was, if you want to heal, to start your healing journey, move to somewhere you enjoy being outside, because being outside changes everything. The sun, the air, the nature, the frequency. By the way, the frequency of nature is love. That's why
true.
It's so healing.
That's true.
It's a frequency of creation, which is love.
That's awesome. So on that note, I'm going to actually turn this around so you guys can see what we've been looking at this whole time. And
not bad, right?
Yeah.
And another beautiful soul, Mr.
And another Deva.
One of the beautiful people here.
All right, everyone.
Aloha.
So much aloha to you, and we'll see you next time.